There is only one thing separating you from being a great author or writing the amazing novel you've always dreamed of. And for a limited time, you can get this for the low price of just $39.99, a miracle transformation in as little as 30 days. I'm just kidding. The thing you actually need is way more expensive and will probably take you an entire human lifetime to acquire. If you want to get better at writing, the number one thing you need to do is to improve your perception and awareness of the craft. Everything that is necessary to become a great writer basically boils down to your ability to perceive and your level of awareness when it comes to things related to writing. The only difference between you and me and a great author is that they have a heightened level of awareness about how to write a great novel. They are able to perceive the difference between good writing and bad writing on a level that us mere mortals cannot. The reason you aren't writing a great novel when you try to write a great novel is because you aren't aware of the problems that are making it not a great novel. Your ability to perceive these problems is not sharp enough. Beyond knowing how to type or use a pen, there are very few mechanics to writing. It's not like painting where you need to get good at brush strokes or drawing straight lines. It's not like music where there's scales and strumming muscle memory to learn. Writing is all about your ability to transfer thoughts to the page and have what's on that page trigger the appropriate emotional response in the reader. That requires both awareness and the ability to perceive what works and what doesn't. Now, I admit that this might sound pretty obvious, that obviously if you are aware of how to do something, then you should be able to do it. That is obvious, but I also think a lot of writers do things that sabotage their awareness and really don't focus on building up their perception. We focus a lot on the things that you need to do in a story, the things you need to do with your plot, the things you should do with your characters, how you should structure your prose. We think a lot about those sort of things, but we don't think about building up our own ability to perceive and our own awareness around the writing craft. I vaguely remember this concept from some kind of corporate training thing that I saw a while ago. I can't be bothered to look it up because that stuff makes me nauseated. But anyway, they talk about the difference between known unknowns and unknown unknowns. There's stuff you know that you don't know, or problems that you know are problems. And then there's the problems you don't even know are problems, the unknowns that you don't even know you don't know. And it's these problems, the unknown unknowns, that are often the most damaging. Let's say you suck at writing dialogue. See what I did there? If you know you suck at writing dialogue, then you can maybe focus on other things. You can adapt your style to use less dialogue. Maybe be extra careful when you actually need to write dialogue. Or, best of all, if you know you suck at dialogue, you can make a conscious effort to improve your dialogue writing skills, which is probably the best thing to do. But if you aren't aware that your dialogue is a problem, if it's an unknown unknown, then you'll go off writing dialogue without even realizing there's an issue. That's the situation that's the most damaging. Your level of awareness and your ability to perceive problems is what allows you to see and correct those problems. When you become more aware, you find more problems and can act on more solutions. The whole reason that this channel exists, besides giving me an outlet for my own narcissistic tendencies, is to make you aware of problems in your writing that you might not have been aware of. When I say things like filter words can be bad sometimes, and you didn't know that filter words can be bad beforehand, I've now armed you with some more awareness that you can apply to your writing. You will now see a problem that you didn't previously know was there. Or you will have a solution to a problem that you knew existed but you didn't know how to fix. You can also use other people's perception and other people's awareness to help improve your writing. This is, when you boil it right down, why critique groups, editors, and beta readers exist. You have other people apply their own awareness and their perception to your writing to find issues that you didn't know were there. And this brings us to what I think is the most important thing you can do to improve both your awareness and your perception, and that is to engage in activities that feed you new information, either about writing in general or about potential issues within your own writing. That's the first step. The second step is to process that information, to apply it to your writing practice so that you can digest and really understand that information. It's not enough to just gather and become aware of information. You also have to practice finding things related to that information in your own writing. That's why I talk about this in terms of awareness and perception. Awareness is just your knowledge of a problem or your knowledge of something. Perception is your ability to spot that problem or that thing in your own writing, your ability to sense what that information is telling you. If someone critiques a scene of yours and they say that they found it kind of confusing, you should try to figure out what's contributing to that. Maybe you didn't funnel them into the scene enough. Maybe you're jumping around in time too much. Maybe it's something simple like unclear dialogue attribution or poor pronoun usage. You can become aware of a problem, but you have to be able to perceive why it's a problem. Awareness is not so much a skill as it is a mindset. Writers with good perception and good awareness are open to change. They are open to discovering problems that they didn't think were there. They don't just sit there and assume that everything is hunky-dory. They actively try to seek out potential problems. They try to expand their sphere of awareness. This is something you have to actively work on if you want it to improve. Another element of awareness is subtlety and nuance. Writing is such a variable thing that there are very few hard and fast rules that apply 100% of the time. This even goes down to seemingly very basic things like spelling and grammar. Passive voice is usually a bad thing, but there are times where it's actually a really good thing. In the right situations, it works really well. The difference between a character being a lovable anti-hero and an annoying a-hole is usually down to tiny little things that the writer does with the character. I've talked before about how important the micro elements of writing are. Part of improving your perception means improving the nuance at which you use information. You need to be able to understand what to do in a very specific circumstance and how all of that specificity influences what the best course of action is. Now let's take a moment to talk about the things that often cloud a writer's perspective, the things that will actually make you less aware and lead to problems. This honestly mostly comes down to ego in various forms. When you get defensive about your writing, when you refuse to listen to valid problems that a critique partner is bringing up, that's when your ability to perceive really diminishes, and all of this is driven by your ego. Here's the thing. Becoming aware of problems in your writing also means becoming aware that you are producing writing that has problems in it. Depending on how your ego is situated, that can be a hard thing to become aware of. Your ego really likes the idea that your writing is flawless and beyond comparison. To keep this delusion alive, it will block out potentially useful information that would actually make your writing better. It will add subjectivity to information to hide problems and allow you to continue to delude yourself into thinking that you're this century's Ernest Hemingway. This can also go the other way, where awareness of problems makes it feel like you will never improve at writing, that you suck at writing, that you're a talentless hack, and there's nothing you can do to improve. In that case, it's more likely that you'll give up or quit writing, which is a real shame because discovering problems in your writing means you have a clear path to improving your writing. Dealing with either of these situations and ego in general is a topic that probably warrants its own video, but a major thing that I think everybody should do to deal with ego is to shift your focus away from you as a writer and onto the work itself. You're not a good writer or a bad writer. You are a writer who's produced a novel that is of a certain quality. You are someone who has written either a good novel or a bad novel. That novel does not need to be a reflection on you as a person. Try to take your identity and your ego-ness out of the equation and focus on the work. Focus on improving the work. Focus on the actions that you need to take to improve the work, which is usually related to the problems that your awareness is making you aware of. Another element to this that I'm hoping I can get across is that most of the time, it's not that you need to develop perception so much as you need to free the perception that you already have. You probably are aware that your writing isn't as good as the authors you look up to, or isn't as good as you want it to be. You know that there's something different between what they've written and what you've written. You might not be able to articulate what that difference is. You might not know the solution, but just the fact that you can perceive that there's a difference in quality between your writing and the writing that you want to live up to means that you're on the right track to developing that perception. So long as you continue focusing on developing that perception, then eventually that skill will come. Speaking of things that aren't coming, there is not going to be a conclusion to this video because I didn't write one. So there you have it. If there is something related to awareness or perception that you would like me to become aware of, please leave a comment down below. If you want to see more stuff like this, you can check out all my other writing advice related videos and subscribe to my channel. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.